Hello, my loves. Today we're going to continue with perimeter and area of the base, except today we're working with fractions. And we're going to add fractions to find perimeter and multiply fractions to find the area. We're going to use those algorithms to multiply and add fractions. Our objective, we can use algorithms to find the perimeter and area of a figure. Our essential question, how can place value help you add and multiply fractions? Place value, adding and multiplying fractions. Is there place value in a fraction? We're going to review perimeter, review area, and then do some practice problems. Please don't forget to do at least 50 minutes of iReady Math. 60 or 75 would be awesome because we want you to catch up to 6th grade. If you are already on 6th grade level, I have quite a few of you who are there already. That means just do those 2 lessons that I gave you, those 50 minutes of iReady Math. And this week's lessons, analyze patterns and relationships, and practice analyze patterns and relationships. All right, let's take a look at the perimeter and area. So the first thing that we need to understand is we're talking about the perimeter and area of the base of a rectangular prism. Now, if this side of the rectangle is 2 1/4 centimeters, then that means this side is going to be 2 1/4 centimeters. And if this side of the rectangle is 1 1/2 centimeters, this side will also be 1 1/2 centimeters. Now this 4 1/2 centimeters means this is top to bottom, and we don't need that until we use our volume. So let's go ahead and review perimeter and area. Remember, perimeter is one-dimensional, so it's just length. Area is two-dimensional, so it's length times width. This perimeter of length, the answer is going to be in centimeters. But when we're talking about 2 dimensions, it's going to be centimeters squared, or squared centimeters. Let's go ahead and do our perimeter. I have 2 1/4 plus 2 1/4 plus 1 1/2 plus 1 1/2. And make sure you're writing all of these down. Put today's date on it. Put a heading on it that says perimeter and area of fractions, because you're going to need these papers for Friday when you do it all on your own. These papers will help you check your answers. Well, the first thing I see is that these two are the same, so I'm just going to combine those like terms. 2 plus 2 is 4, and 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4. And these have the same denominator, so I can combine them. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1/2 plus 2, well, I'm sorry, 1/2 plus 1/2 is 2/2. Switch. So that's telling me that this right here is actually the number 3. Well, look how easy this was. 4 2/4 plus 3 is 7 2/4. Are we at lowest terms? No, we're not at lowest terms because this can be divided by 2. And our answer will be 7 1/2. 7 1/2 centimeters is going to be the perimeter. So that says from here to there to there and there, all around is 7 1/2 centimeters. Now we need to find the area, which is this whole shaded in part. That's the surface area. And we would multiply 2 1/4 times 1 1/2. Now, if you wanted to leave them as a mixed number, you would have to remember that this 2 has to multiply here, 2 has to multiply here, 1/4 goes here, 1/4 goes there. You would have to use the distributive property. That's a lot of work that we don't need to do, because all we need to do is turn these into improper fractions. For instance, 2 and 1/4. 2 and 1/4 says 2 whole pizzas and then 1/4 of a pizza. So that's a very wonky pizza. The other 3/4 of that pizza has been eaten. So, but we're talking about fourths. So if this one is 1/4, then this one has to be in fourths as well, and so does this one. A whole pizza has how many fourths? 4. A whole pizza has 4/4. So 2 is the same as 8/4. 2 whole pizzas, 2 whole numbers is the same as 8/4. Now, using the algorithm, here's what we would do. 2 times 4. And it's not really 2 times 4, it's 2 times fourths. Here's my 2 pizzas over here. 2 pizzas times cutting them into fourths is going to be 8/4. And then we add 1/4 because that's this 1/4 over here. So altogether there are 9/4, and that makes sense. 8/4 plus 1/4 is 9/4. But the algorithm just helps you get there a little bit faster. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. 3/2. Now all we have to do is multiply. 9 times 3 is 27. Oh, that's a 7. And 4 times 2 is 8. So we have 27/8. And this is not in lowest terms. So how do we get it in lowest terms? We bloop bloop, we divide. 27 divided by 8. Well, I know that 8 times 3 is 24. And when I subtract, I have 3 left over. So 3 3/8 is my answer. Now let me check. Is this in lowest terms? I can divide this by 3. Can I divide that by 3 to make it smaller? Nope, can't do it. Now the 8 I can divide by 2 to get smaller. Can I divide the 3 to get smaller by a 2? Nope. So our answer here is 3 38 centimeters squared, or squared centimeters. Make sure that you're following along with me and you're writing these steps down, because you're going to need to review this on Friday. Okay, next problem, problem number 2. We have a rectangular prism here, and this dimension is 1 2/3, which means this dimension is 1 2/3. This dimension is 2 1/3. That means this dimension is 2 1/3. Let's find the perimeter and the area. Remember, perimeter is going to be in inches because it's 1 dimension. The area is going to be in square inches because it's 2 dimension. Let's find the perimeter. We add up all of our sides. 1 2/3 plus, and I'm going to match it with my congruent side, plus 2 1/3 plus 2 1/3. Well, I notice that they all have the same denominator, so I can simply add them together. I'm going to start with my whole numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And now because they all have the same denominator, I can just add them. 2, 4, 5, 6. 6/3. 6 6/3. Is this in lowest terms? Nope. It says 6 6/3. 6/3 can be divided. 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So it says 6 and 2. What is 6 and 2? It's 8. 8 inches is my perimeter. All right, let's get that area going. We've got 1 2/3 times 2 1/3. Make sure that you use that algorithm to turn this into an improper fraction and then multiply. Go ahead and pause the video and let's see if your answer matches mine. All right, 3 times 1 is 3 4 5/3 times 6 7/3. 5 times 7 is 35 and 9. 35 ninths. And this is a division problem. It says 35 divided by 9. And I know that 9 times 5 is 45, which is way too high. 9 times 4 is 36, which is just a little too high, so it has to be 9 times 3. And 9 times 3 is 27. When I subtract, I've got an 8. So 3 8/9 would be my answer. My 8 becomes my numerator, and my 9 is my denominator. 3 8/9 inches cubed, or squared, or not cubed, sorry, squared. Square inches. Did you get that answer? If you didn't get that answer, rewind the video. Go back to the problem number 1, rewatch it, come back to problem number 2, use a fresh sheet of paper, and see if you can get it again. I mean, you don't have to wait till the end of the video. If you don't get this problem right here, you can always go back and start over. Remember, the whole point of this is not for you to get through it, but for you to understand it. That's super important. All right, here we are again. And we're talking about the area and perimeter of just the base. Okay, so if this is 1 1/8 inches, this one has to be 1 1/8 inches. But look here, what is that one? That's a little confusing. That one is going to be the height, which we don't need just yet. If this one's 2 1/2 inches, that means this one will also be 2 1/2 inches. So let's find the perimeter and the area. Perimeter, we add them all up. 2 1/2 plus 2 1/2 plus 1 1/8 plus 1 1/8. Now guys, I'm adding them up by congruent sides because it saves me a step. The reason that it saves me a step is if I wanted to put my numbers like in order of the sides, like this is 1 1/8 plus 2 1/2 plus 1 1/8 plus 2 1/2. So now my numbers are all jumbled up, but I can still use my commutative property and move them 1 1/8 plus, I'm going to move this guy with this guy, 1 1/8, and then these two match. So already, do you see how it's getting a little bit messier? If you use your leadership skills, your leader in me thinking, begin with the end in mind. We know that we are going to add them all up. So let's add up like terms with like terms, congruent sides. 2 1/2 plus 2 1/2 plus 1 1/8 plus 1 1/8. So now I have like terms. They have the same denominator. 2 plus 2 is 4, 1/2 plus 1/2 is 2 halves. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8. So I have 2 and 2 halves plus 2 and 2/8. Well, that's easy. 2 and 2 halves, or 4 and 2 halves. 4 and 1 is 5 plus 2 and 2/8. 5 plus 2 is 7 and 2/8. Are we in lowest terms? Nope. We can divide by 2. And we get 7 and 1/4 inches. That's my perimeter, 7 and 1/4 inches. So to go here to there to there to there, it's 7 and 1/4 inches. Now for the area, 1 and 1/8 times 2 and 1/2. We need to find the product of these two, and the easiest way is to use our algorithm to make these mixed numbers into improper fractions. Go ahead and pause the video and let's see what you can do. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 1 is 9, 9/8. And that makes sense because one whole number would be 8/8. 8/8 and 1/8 is 9/8 times. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 halves. And 9 times 5 is 45 16ths. Is that in lowest terms? Nope. We need to divide. 45 divided by 16. Well, I know that 16 and 16 are 32. Let's see if that works. I've got a 3. Oh, perfect. 13. 13 16. 2 and 13 16ths inches squared, or square inches. Did you get that answer? I hope so. All right. Problem 4 coming up. Okay, we're talking about the base, the perimeter, and the area of that base. If this side is 2 2/3, this side has to be 2 2/3. If this side is 1 1/3, whoop, there we go, then this side is 1 1/3. Let's find that perimeter and area. Perimeter, we add them all up. Let's begin with the end in mind and put those similar terms together. 1 1/3 plus 1 1/3 plus 2 2/3 plus 2 2/3. Let's combine those. 2 2/3 plus 4 4/3. All right, let's add them up. 2 plus 4 is 6, and 2 plus 4 is 6/3. Is this in lowest terms? Nope, it can be reduced. 6 and 6/3. 6 and 6/3. Well, look at this. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So this is really 6 and 2. And what is 6 and 2? 8. It's 8 feet. That's my perimeter. So to go from here to there to there to there, it's going to be 8 feet. Now let's find that area, which is in square feet. The length is 2 2/3, and we're multiplying that dimension by 1 1/3. Okay, pause the video, get some improper fractions, and start multiplying. 3 times 2 is 6, 7 8/3 times 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4/3. 8 times 4 is 32. 3 times 3 is 9. Now that's an improper fraction. We can reduce 32 divided by 9. I know 3 times 9 is 27, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 5 left over. So it's 3 and 5 ninths. 3 and 5 ninths, right? 3 and 5 ninths. We'll put it over here. 3 and 5 ninths square feet. There's my answer. Did you get that same answer? All right, last problem. All right, now this one's interesting. We have 2 and 2/10 inches, 2 and 2/10 inches, 2 and 2/10 inches. They're all the same. That's telling me that it is a square. So 2 and 2/10 inches plus 2 and 2/10 inches plus 2 and 2/10 inches plus 2 and 2/10 inches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 8/10. Is that in lowest terms? Absolutely not, because we can divide by 2. And we get 8, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So our answer is 8 and 4/5 inches. That's the perimeter. All right, pause the video and let's see how you find the area. Okay, so we've got 2 and 2/10 times 2 and 2/10. Only those two dimensions, only length and width. We don't need the height. Let's use that algorithm. 10 times 2 is 20, plus 2 is 22/10. And then 22/10 again. So right here, we're going to multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. And I'm going to get out of 100 and then 22 times 22. I could do that. Or, my loves, let's begin with the end in mind. When we begin with the end in mind, here's what we're going to find. This is an even number, and if I divide it by 2 and divide that by 2, I get 11 over 5, right? Yeah, they're equivalent fractions. And the same thing here, if I divide this by 2 and this by 2, I get 11 over 5. Now, you know, 11 times 11 is going to be, 22 times 22 is not too difficult. But you should know your 11 times tables. Do you know your 11 times tables? And you know what would be really easy? Instead of even doing the math, you can think, oh, I know what 11 times 10 is. It's 11 tens, which means 11 times 11 would be one more. So you should remember that it's 121. You should have that memorized from 3rd grade. So it's 121 over 5 times 5 is 25. Now we can do that division. Make a nice space here. Okay. 121 divided by 25. And again, guys, think of those quarters. 1/4 is 25. 2/4 is 50. 3/4 is 75. 4/4 is $1. 5/4 is $1.25, which went too high. We need to go back down to $1, which would be 4. And that gives us 21 left over. So the answer is 4 and 21 25ths. Get rid of this little guy. We don't need you. Okay. So 4 and 21 25ths cannot be reduced anymore, but these are going to be inches squared. 4 and 21 25ths inches squared. All right, my loves, did I make any mistakes? You need to let me know. Sometimes I catch them, sometimes I don't. All right, so shoot me an email, make sure. Let me know if I made mistakes. Let me know if I got them all right. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I love you. Bye.